Croeso, welcome back to Britain's Hidden History, me, Ross Broadstock. It's a far more recent event talking about, quite a tragic one, although it does connect possibly to ancient history, as I'll be showing in a second. Today's date, October 14th, as I'm sure you're already aware, is the anniversary of the Senghenydd colliery disaster. And this dreadful explosion killed 439 miners and a rescuer. The whole thing was appalling. There was lawsuits against the owners for negligence, so we had to pay a whole shilling per miner as compensation. It's about £14 in today's money. So those who are not unions and stuff and realise why they were needed back in those days for defending working people. What seems to have happened, there was this build-up of gases, so like after damp and that, a mixture of gases, and something has sparked them. Now they were aware of the build-up of gases. Part of the colliery was evacuated, but the other half wasn't. And then what happens is the air itself is full of little dust, black dust. You can hardly see down there. This is why the miners used to chew what they called twist. It was like a sort of chewing tobacco, just to give them a chance to breathe and swallow before the nationalisation came in, the unions, and improved conditions. But back in those days, absolutely appalling. My own grandfather, not going back quite this far, but that sort of era, he died in his 50s from what they call pneumoconiosis, which is coal dust, because their working in that environment was just dreadful. There was hardly any old men in the valleys. They used to have what they call the Derby and Joan clubs, which is for old men and old women. In the valleys, the joke was they were the Joan clubs, because all the men were dead. So that's what we had there. And I'll read my father's poem at some point. But what's curious here, which doesn't seem to get mentioned much, is Collins Beaumont talking about the Glamorgan tornado. Hang on a second. Just show you here. Oops. We have some more about it here. The devastating South Wales tornado of October 1913. Now what Collins Beaumont does makes this connection whereby weather is created by seismic events like volcanoes and earthquakes, landslips. He's given lots of examples like the Amalfi landslip, Tokyo earthquakes. Read about it. It's very interesting. I might do more on it. And what he's saying here is that this tornado, which I'd heard very little about, which actually killed a few people, was devastating, caused loads of damage, blasting through. And what you can see on the weather fronts and that built up during the period after the explosion, right? After this mining disaster, which would have been a seismic event. When you go through, you get all these amazing accounts of flashes of lightning and thunder, and it passed through. What caught my eye as well, the tornado appears to have developed somewhere close to Evelysif and Llantyfardra. That's right where I'm sitting now. I mean, it stopped raining for a minute, so it's maybe not any more of this. The point here is these extreme weather events, and not a modern thing. There's always been extreme weather events. We just sort of made to forget them. Right, so this developed in Llantyfardra. So in this area, the track was 50 yards wide, and the winds were strong enough to do considerable damage to light outdoor structures. And what you find then, as it kept going, it widened to 200 yards wide by the time it got to Kilfynydd and up through Edwardsville. So it was absolutely devastating. And you can see houses being damaged and roofs coming off, and it's in the news. Up into the northwest there, look, Widnes. Isn't it dreadful, isn't it? And this is reading from Collins Beaumont. And what he says here, he's quoting here from Mr. Clement Edwards. Well, first of all, the Telegraph described it as a terrifying blue ball of flame. Mr. Clement Edwards, then Member of Parliament for East Glamorgan, notified the following features which marked its progress. The track was up to 400 yards wide. B. Nothing within that area escaped damage. C. Persons saw a ball of flame shooting as though from a gun, or rolling with a terrible swiftness. D. It was accompanied by a great tempest and fire. E. Also a water spout, or cloudburst, which swamped the area and prevented the villages in its course from being consumed by flames. Over 200 houses were destroyed, and thousands were considerably damaged. G. Its weird and uncanny freaks caused roofs to be torn off buildings. A corrugated iron garage was lifted bodily from one field and thrown violently into another. Heavy furniture and fences are picked up by the gale and carried long distances. Hayricks were carried through the air for over a mile, and big trees were uprooted and moved considerable distances. H. The tornado coincided with a serious colliery explosion in the region, which caused the death of many miners. It's on the parliamentary record. This was recognised. I just want to make the point, it's not a new thing. There's also some hidden history involved there. And I try to avoid politics always on this, but it might be worth bearing in mind that the releasing of gases and causing seismic disturbances is basically what fracking is. So you might want to bear in mind some of this history from... so I'm not aware of any tornadoes since then, when the mining is very much less now. Now, it's going to indulge me for a minute and read my father's poem. Oh, if I could just breathe. So, that taste of twist, that smell of dust, that deep black hole my father cussed, is gone for good and as it should, like many a poor miner neath a cross of wood. But think on this, all those that cry, at least no other poor miner will die, to mine black gold and show true grit in that ghastly workplace aptly named the pit. Till next time, Heddwch.